Benjamin, a boy of only 9, was standing next to his mother's grave. Her heart was heavy with sorrow, and silent tears flowed down her cheeks. "Why did you have to go, Mom?" he whispered, his voice breaking with pain. "Why did you leave me here alone?" The words were lost in the icy wind, echoing in the heavy silence of the cemetery. Felt as if a piece of his soul had been torn from him, leaving him empty and hopeless. "Please, Mom," he murmured, closing his eyes tightly. "Take me with you. I don't want to be here alone anymore." Years before, Elizabeth woke up one morning with a strange feeling in her stomach. A mixture of nausea and anxiety accompanied her as she got out of bed. The sun shone brightly through the window, promising a beautiful day, but Elizabeth hardly noticed the beauty around her. She went into the bathroom and looked at her reflection in the mirror. Her skin looked pale, and her eyes, though still bright, revealed a growing concern. "This is not normal," he thought. "I need to find out what is happening to me." After quickly tidying up, Elizabeth passed the pharmacy before going to school where she taught. She bought a pregnancy test, something she had been putting off for days but now seemed inevitable. He arrived at school early, with enough time to take the test before the students began to arrive. He locked himself in the teacher's room, where he had a little more privacy. His heart was beating fast as he waited for the result. "Please be positive," she whispered to herself, wishing intensely. The minutes felt like hours. When he finally looked at the test, his eyes widened. 2 pink lines. Positive. "Oh, my God," Elizabeth murmured, feeling a mixture of joy and fear. Tears started streaming down her face as she sat down, trying to process the news. "I'm going to be a mother. I'm really going to be a mom." At the end of the day, Elizabeth could hardly contain her excitement. She decided that she would tell Michael, her boyfriend, as soon as he got home. He prepared a special dinner, something he hadn't done in a while due to the rush of everyday life. The table was set with flowers, candles, and his favorite dish. When Michael arrived, tired from work, Elizabeth rushed to hug him. "Hi, my love," she said, kissing his cheek. "I have a surprise for you." Michael smiled, although he seemed a little distracted. "Surprise? What are you talking about, Liz?" "Come, sit here," she said, pulling him by the hand to the table. "Today was a special day, and I wanted to share that with you." As they ate, Elizabeth watched Michael's every move, waiting for the right moment to tell. Finally, after dessert, she could no longer wait. "Michael, I have something important to tell you." Her voice was shaky, but there was a sweetness in it that he couldn't ignore. "What is it, Liz?" "You're making me worried," he replied, putting down his fork and looking at her intently. Elizabeth took a deep breath, holding his hands on the table. "Michael, I took a pregnancy test today, and it tested positive. We're having a baby." For a moment, there was absolute silence. Elizabeth watched the various emotions running through Michael's face: surprise, disbelief, fear. He let go of his hands and leaned back in his chair. "A baby?" he repeated, as if he needed to hear it again to believe it. "Yes, a baby. We're going to be parents, Michael." Elizabeth smiled, hoping he would share her joy. But his reaction wasn't what she expected. Michael ran his hand over his face, visibly distraught. "Liz, I don't know if I'm ready for this. That's not what I planned now." Elizabeth felt a tightness in her chest. "I know it's a surprise, Michael, but we can do this together." "I know we can." He shook his head, getting up from the table. "I need some time to think." And with that, he left, leaving Elizabeth alone in the dining room, the candles still burning and the food untouched on her plates. Hours later, when she was already lying down, still awake, she heard the sound of the front door opening. Michael entered the room, but instead of lying down next to her, he began to pack a suitcase. "Michael, what are you doing?" Elizabeth asked, sitting up in bed. "I can't do that, Liz. I'm not ready to be a father. I need some time away from here to think." He said it without looking at her, as if the words were too hard to say. Elizabeth felt the tears burning her eyes again. "Are you leaving me? Now? When do I need you most?" Michael finally looked at her, and she saw the pain in his eyes. "I'm sorry, Liz, but I can't. I need space." And with that, he walked out, leaving her alone, devastated, and and holding the positive pregnancy test result, which now seemed to weigh a ton. Elizabeth lay back on the bed, hugging the pillow and feeling more alone than ever. But even amid her sadness, a determination began to grow within her. She would do it herself if she needed to. She would be a mother, and she would give her son all the love she could. And so, Elizabeth began her journey of discovery, resilience, and most of all, unconditional love. The following weeks were a roller coaster of emotions for Elizabeth. Morning sickness began almost immediately, making it difficult for her to get through school. Even so, she struggled to keep a smile on her face in front of the students, trying not to let on the storm that was going on inside her. One morning, Elizabeth woke up with such intense nausea that she could barely make it to the bathroom in time. Sitting on the cold floor, she hugged the toilet and cried. The loneliness was overwhelming. Each wave of motion sickness felt like a cruel reminder that Michael was gone. At work, his colleagues began to notice that something was different. Jane, an older and more experienced colleague, watched Elizabeth closely. "Are you okay, Liz?" Jane asked one day, after realizing that Elizabeth had run out of the classroom once again. Elizabeth tried to smile. "I'm fine, Jane. Just a little queasy lately." Jane frowned, but did not press. "If you need anything, I'm here to help." Elizabeth thanked him, but deep down she knew it was something she needed to face on her own. Each day, she tried to focus on the positives. She thought of the baby growing inside her. Imagined the little face, the little hands, the first cry. These little fantasies were what kept her going. The nights were the worst. Lying in bed, Elizabeth felt Michael's absence as an unbearable emptiness. She hugged a pillow, as if it could somehow fill the lack he made. The house, which was once a haven of love and laughter, now seemed like a cold, empty space. One night, after another exhausting day, Elizabeth decided to write a letter to the baby. She sat at the kitchen table with a notebook and pen, tears already forming a lump in her throat. "Dear baby," she began. "Today has been a difficult day, but thinking of you gives me strength to continue. I know I'm alone right now, but I promise I'll do everything to be the best mom I can be. You are loved, even if only by me at the moment, and that will never change." The words flowed, each sentence a bit of comfort and hope to itself. When it was over, Elizabeth felt some of the burden being lightened, as if, by putting her feelings on paper, she was sharing the weight with someone. Months passed, and Elizabeth's body changed along with them. The belly grew, and with it, the feeling of reality. She began attending antenatal appointments, always alone but keeping her head up. The doctors and nurses were kind, but she could feel the pitying looks. "You're doing an amazing job, Elizabeth," Dr. Anderson said during a consultation. "I know it's not easy, but you're doing great." These words of encouragement were a balm to his soul. Elizabeth knew that she was not only fighting for herself, but for her son as well. Every movement of the baby in her womb, every kick, was a reminder that she had a greater purpose. Despite fears and uncertainties, Elizabeth found strength where she least expected it. The school community showed unexpected support. The parents of the students arranged a surprise, a welcome party for the baby. Elizabeth was touched by their generosity. "For you, Liz," Jane said, handing him a huge cake. "You are not alone. We are here for you and your baby." Elizabeth could not hold back her tears. The gratitude he felt in that moment was indescribable. The support he received renewed his hope and courage. Throughout her pregnancy, Elizabeth learned to cope with loneliness, seasickness, and fears. Every day was a battle, but also a victory. She began to believe in herself more, finding strength in anticipation of the birth of her son. Letters to her baby became a nightly ritual for Elizabeth. After a long day of work and dealing with the difficulties of pregnancy, she would sit at the kitchen table, with a cup of hot tea by her side, and write. Each letter was a testimony of his love, an account of his hopes and dreams for the future. "Dear son," she wrote on a particularly difficult night, "today I felt you move in a way that I had never felt before. It was like you were dancing inside me. Those moments are what keep me strong. Knowing that you were there, growing and preparing to come into the world, gives me strength to face anything." Elizabeth described her days in detail, trying to paint a vivid picture so that one day her son could read and understand everything that she was going through him. She talked about the challenges she faced alone, but always returned to the central theme, the unconditional love she felt for him. "You brought light into my life at a time when everything seemed dark," she continued in another letter. "Even without being born, you are already the most important thing to me. I promise that I will do everything in my power to provide you with a life full of love and joy." The letters were a form of therapy for Elizabeth. Putting your feelings down on paper helped you process pain and loneliness, turning them into something positive. She knew that one day, when her son was older, he would read these words and understand how much he was loved from the very beginning. "Today I went to my prenatal appointment," she wrote one evening. "Dr. Anderson said you are growing healthy and strong. Hearing your little heart beating is the best song I've ever heard. I can't wait to hold you in my arms and meet you." Elizabeth also shared her childhood memories, her family's stories, and the lessons she learned throughout her life. She wanted her son to know where he came from, the roots that sustained him. "When I was little, my mother taught me the importance of being kind and strong," she wrote. "I want to teach you the same things, so that you grow up to be a good and brave person. You have a heritage of love and resilience, and I want you to know that even in difficult times, there is always a reason to keep going." As Elizabeth's belly grew, so did the volume of letters stored in a special box. Each sheet of paper contained a part of your soul, a piece of your heart, meant for your child. On an autumn evening, when the air was cool and the leaves were beginning to change color, Elizabeth sat down to write another letter. She felt particularly inspired, perhaps because of the beauty of the day or the constant movement of the baby in her womb. "Dear son," she began, "today I thought a lot about the future, about what it will be like when you are here in my arms. I imagine your little face, your little hands, and the sound of your laughter. I know there will be challenges, but I also know that our love will be stronger than any obstacle." She paused, feeling a surge of emotions wash over her. Tears flowed silently down her face as she continued to write. "You are the reason I wake up every day and face the world with courage. Even before you are born, you are already my greatest gift. I promise that I will do everything I can to be the best mother for you. We will go through everything together, and I will always be by your side." Elizabeth closed the notebook and looked at the pile of letters. He felt a little lighter, as if the writing had lifted a weight from his shoulders. She knew that the road ahead would still be difficult, but she also knew that she was ready to face it, for the love she had for her son. The letters continued to grow in number and depth, each a reflection of the love and hope Elizabeth nurtured. And so, amid sickness, loneliness, and fears, she found unexpected solace in writing. As the months progressed, Elizabeth began to feel a sharp pain in her lower abdomen. Initially, she tried to ignore it, attributing it to the normal pressure of pregnancy. However, persistent and growing pain worried her. Reluctantly, he decided to make an emergency appointment with Dr. Anderson. In the waiting room of the office, Elizabeth held her belly with one hand, and with the other she firmly held a letter she had written the night before, where she described her dreams for the future with her son. The wait seemed endless. "Elizabeth, Dr. Anderson can take you now," the receptionist said with a welcoming smile. Elizabeth got up slowly, trying not to show how scared she was. She entered the room and sat down in the chair next to Dr. Anderson's desk, who greeted her with a serious look. "Elizabeth, tell me about the symptoms you are experiencing," the doctor said. "I have been feeling a sharp pain in the abdomen. At first I thought it was something normal, but it's getting stronger," Elizabeth explained, trying to stay calm. Dr. Anderson examined her carefully, performing an ultrasound to check the baby's situation. The silence in the room was palpable, and Elizabeth watched the doctor's expression anxiously, looking for any sign of relief. "Elizabeth, it looks like you have a complication called placental abruption. It is a serious condition where the placenta separates from the wall of the uterus before delivery. We're going to need to monitor you and the baby closely," Dr. Anderson explained, with a tone of concern. Elizabeth felt a chill on her spine. The doctor's words hit her like a blow. "Will the baby be okay?" she asked, her voice trembling. "We will do everything we can to ensure that. You will need absolute rest and constant monitoring." It is essential that you follow all instructions to minimize the risks, Dr. Anderson replied, trying to comfort her. Elizabeth returned home, where the silence seemed deeper and more threatening than ever. Lying in bed, she felt a mixture of fear and helplessness. Tears came without warning, and she allowed herself to cry, feeling the weight of the situation. That night, she wrote another letter to her son, trying to keep hope alive. Dear son, today I received news that made me very afraid. It looks like our journey here will be even more challenging, but I want you to know that I will do everything I can to protect you. We're in this together, and I'll never give up on you. The days that followed were a litmus test for Elizabeth. Absolute rest meant that she could not work, could barely move. Friends and co-workers took turns helping, bringing food and taking care of the house. Jane, his co-worker, was a constant support, always bringing words of encouragement. You're the strongest person I know, Liz, Jane said, on a visit. Your baby will be very lucky to have you as a mother. During the rest, Elizabeth had a lot of time to think. She talked to her baby, stroking her belly and telling stories from her childhood, trying to create an even stronger bond. I can't wait to meet you, my love, she would say, her voice soft and full of emotion. I promise that I will do everything so that you arrive in this world safe and healthy. But there were moments of doubt and fear. On some nights, panic would take her by storm, and she would struggle to stay calm. In these hours, writing letters has become even more crucial. Today was a hard day, dear, he wrote on one of those dark nights. Sometimes I feel so scared that I can barely breathe. But then, I feel you moving, and I remember you're fighting by my side. It gives me strength to continue. With each passing week, Elizabeth strictly followed medical recommendations. Visits to Dr. Anderson became frequent, and each appointment was a relief when the baby's heart beat strong and regular. You're doing an amazing job, Elizabeth, Dr. Anderson said during one of the consultations. Keep it up, and let's get through this together. Finally, after weeks of rest and constant vigilance, Elizabeth's condition stabilized. The danger had not completely passed, but there was hope that she could carry the pregnancy to term. In one evening, feeling a surge of relief and gratitude, Elizabeth wrote one of the most touching letters to date. Son, we have been through a storm, but we are almost there. Your every move reminds me of how strong you are. We're almost ready to meet, and I can't wait to hold you in my arms. I love you more than words can express. The pregnancy was nearing its end, which was a relief for Elizabeth since loneliness consumed her miserably. Elizabeth was sitting in the living room, her belly already big and heavy, when she decided to pick up the phone and call her mother. The need to share his journey, however difficult, was irresistible. She dialed the number with trembling hands, hoping that maybe, just maybe, her mother could offer a little comfort. The phone rang several times before it was finally answered. Elizabeth's mother's voice sounded on the other end of the line, cold and distant. Hi, Mom, Elizabeth said, trying not to let vulnerability show in her voice. How are you? Well, his mother replied, with a slightly interested tone. And you? What do you want now? Elizabeth swallowed hard. Me? I just wanted to talk a little bit. It's hard here, Mom. Michael is gone, and I have been alone since the beginning of pregnancy. There was a silence on the other end of the line, which seemed to stretch for an eternity. When her mother finally spoke, her words were like sharp arrows. You have always been irresponsible, Elizabeth, said her mother, in a voice full of disdain. It's all your fault. Michael abandoned you because you were never good enough for him. And now you're there, pregnant and alone, and waiting for me to feel sorry for you. The words hit Elizabeth like a punch to the stomach. She held the phone tightly, fighting back the tears that were beginning to run down her face. I'm trying, Mom, she managed to say, her voice trembling. I'm doing the best I can. You have always been selfish, Elizabeth, her mother continued, ignoring her words. You don't think about the consequences of your actions, always waiting for others to solve their problems. Elizabeth could no longer hear. With a lump in her throat, she abruptly hung up the phone and dropped onto the couch. The tears came in an uncontrolled stream, despair and pain flooding her whole. She felt abandoned not only by Michael, but now also by her own mother. The person who was supposed to be his safe haven, his source of comfort, had just turned his back on him in a cruel and ruthless way. That night, Elizabeth cried until she had no more tears to shed. The emptiness in his chest was overwhelming, the feeling of loneliness cutting like a sharp blade. She hugged her belly, apologizing to the baby for not being able to protect him from the pain of the outside world. Her mother's words echoed in her mind like a painful mantra. Irresponsible, selfish, it's your fault. But deep in her heart, Elizabeth knew it wasn't true. She was struggling, doing her best to bring her son into the world in difficult circumstances. She might not have all the answers, but she had enough love to give. The next morning, despite the troubled night, Elizabeth got up determined. She wiped away the last tears, put her hand on her belly, and promised her son that she would be strong for him. She would not allow her mother's cruel words to bring her down. The long-awaited day has finally come for Elizabeth. After months of uncertainty, fears, and challenges, it was time to bring your child into the world. She was lying in the delivery room, surrounded by the medical staff and the comforting warmth of the nurses who accompanied her throughout her pregnancy. Dr. Anderson held her hand firmly, while Elizabeth took a deep breath between contractions. The moment was finally near, the apex of a whole journey of sacrifice and unconditional love. "You're doing very well, Elizabeth," Dr. Anderson said, encouraging her with a gentle smile. "We're almost there." The labor was intense, every moment charged with expectation and emotion. Elizabeth clung to the hopes and promises she had made for her son. She remembered the letters she had written, the lonely nights, and the cruel words of her mother. Finally, a baby's cry filled the room, the sweetest sound Elizabeth had ever heard. Tears of relief and happiness flowed down her face as the medical team cleaned and wrapped her son in a soft blanket. "He's here, Elizabeth," Dr. Anderson said, carefully placing the baby in her arms. Elizabeth looked at her son's perfect little face, her eyes filled with love and gratitude. She held him against her chest, feeling the warmth and fragility of her newfound life. "Hello, my love," Elizabeth whispered, her voice choked with emotion. "Welcome to the world." The baby looked at her with curious eyes, as if he knew that she was his protector, his source of love and security. In her arms, Elizabeth felt complete, fulfilled beyond words. The days that followed were filled with precious moments. Elizabeth stayed in the hospital for a few days, enjoying every second next to her son. She fed him, changed diapers, sang to him when he cried. Every movement of the baby was a reminder of the miracle of life, the strength of love that united them. Elizabeth was determined to be the best mother she could be, to offer her son what she never had: unconditional love, unwavering support, and a home full of hope. And so, while the sun shone through the window of the hospital room, Elizabeth held her son in her arms and looked optimistically into the future. She knew there would be challenges ahead, but she also knew that with love and perseverance, they would face everything together. That afternoon, while the baby slept serenely on her chest, Elizabeth wrote one more letter. It was a letter of gratitude, an expression of undying love. "Dear son," she began, in the soft, careful handwriting. "Today I held you in my arms for the first time. It was the most magical moment of my life. You are my light, my reason to continue. I promise to love and protect you forever." And so, amid tears of joy and tired smiles, Elizabeth began a new chapter in her life. A chapter full of love, hope, and joy, guided by the indissoluble bond between mother and child. And so little by little Elizabeth was enjoying the first moments with her son, while narrating everything in letters. "Dear Benjamin, today, looking back on the last few months since you arrived, my heart overflows with love and gratitude. Every moment by your side has been a wonderful adventure, full of discoveries and learning. From the moment I held you in my arms for the first time until now, it has been a journey of transformation and joy. I vividly remember the day you gave your first smile. It was as if the sun had risen on a cloudy day. Her little eyes shone with a purity that illuminated my whole world. Since then, these smiles have become my greatest source of happiness, especially on tiring mornings when sleep seemed like a distant dream. Another exciting milestone was when you held a toy for the first time. Seeing your curious little fingers exploring the coloring of the toy made me realize how quickly you are growing up, absorbing the world around you with endless curiosity. Every little achievement of yours, Benjamin, is a celebration for me. Their determination to learn and explore is inspiring. Of course, not all moments were easy. There were nights when you cried and I felt helpless, trying to calm you down with hugs and lullabies. In those hours, I learned the importance of patience and unconditional affection. Whenever you looked at me with your tired little eyes and finally gave yourself up to sleep, my heart filled with relief and renewed love. Benjamin, you teach me every day about the true meaning of love. Being your mother is the greatest gift I have ever received, and I promise to continue learning and growing by your side. I am here for you every step of the way, to celebrate your victories and support you in the challenges you encounter. We have gone through so many moments together in the last few months. Every day is a new adventure, and every challenge we face only strengthens our bond. You are an endless source of joy and inspiration to me. I remember one night in particular that was hard for both of us. You cried inconsolably, and my heart tightened at the sight of you so afflicted. Our embrace in the crib brought some comfort, but it was her quiet breathing finally falling asleep that brought peace to my tired heart. In those hours, I truly understood what it means to be a mother, to be by your side, no matter what. Little achievement of yours is a reason for celebration. Seeing you turn over on your stomach for the first time was a moment of indescribable pride for me. Her determination and willingness to learn are a constant reminder of how amazing the gift of motherhood is. I can't forget the times you looked at me with those curious little eyes as you explored the world around you. Every new discovery of yours is a victory for both of us, and I cherish every moment of those as precious memories that I want to share with you when I grow up. Benjamin, you teach me so much about resilience and hope. In every laugh, in every quiet moment in your arms, I feel the immensity of the love I feel for you. We are creating a story together, a story of love and growth, and I can't wait to see what the future holds. Today was a very special day for both of us. It was your first day at school, a milestone I've looked forward to since you were born. Seeing you grow and start this new stage of your life fills me with pride and excitement. We have been preparing for this day for weeks. I made sure to choose her favorite clothes and packed her backpack with all the care. You looked so tiny with your backpack on your back, holding my hand as we walked to school. When we got there, my heart filled with mixed feelings. On the one hand, I was excited that you were starting this journey of learning and new friendships. On the other, I felt a tightness in my chest as I realized that you were growing up so fast. You were so curious as you explored the classroom and met your teacher. Your little eyes sparkled with curiosity and nervousness, and I knew you were struggling to understand this new environment. I remember when I crouched down next to him to give him one last hug before leaving. I held his tiny hands and told him how much I loved you, and that I would be back to get you at the end of the day. You looked at me with a mixture of determination and a little trepidation, but I knew you would be brave. The day passed more slowly for me than for you, I'm sure. I kept thinking about how you would be doing, whether you were happy or homesick. But when I finally came back to pick you up, you came running up to me with a wide smile on your face. That scene warmed my heart in a way I will never forget. You excitedly told me about your adventures at school, the toys you liked, the new little friends you made, and how the teacher told a funny story that made everyone laugh. Seeing you so excited and happy made me radiant. Benjamin, watching you grow and explore the world is the greatest blessing you could ever have. I am thrilled and grateful to be able to share these moments with you. Your first day at school will always be a precious memory to me, a reminder of how special you are and how much I love you. How time flies. It seems like only yesterday we were celebrating your first day at school, and now you are already 5 years old. 5 years of love, laughter, and discovery. You have become such a joyful and sweet child, and every day by your side is a blessing that I value deeply. I remember how excited you were on your last birthday. Her little party was full of friends, laughter, and chocolate cake, her favorite. Seeing her little face lit up with happiness as she blew out the candles filled me with joy. You have grown so much since then, learning new words, telling funny stories, and surprising everyone around you with your intelligence and kindness. Our days are filled with adventures and special moments. You love exploring the park, climbing trees, and making sandcastles on the beach. Each tour is an opportunity to learn and discover something new together. His curious questions about the world around us challenge me to see things with a renewed perspective. You are also a talented artist, Benjamin. His paintings and drawings adorn the refrigerator, and each masterpiece is a testament to his creativity and imagination. I love seeing you expressing your unique vision of the world through colors and shapes. But more than anything else, Benjamin, it's your kind heart and your generosity that move me the most. You are always ready to help friends at school, share your toys without hesitation, and give a tight hug when someone is sad. Your kindness is a gift that brightens not only my days, but also those of everyone around you. We have built such a special connection over the years. Our conversations before bed are my favorite moments when you tell me about your dreams and hopes. I promise to always be here to support you, guide you, and celebrate your achievements, big and small. I am so proud to see how you are growing and becoming such an amazing child. Now 7 years old, you are a real source of inspiration for me every day. Your passions and talents are flourishing, and it is wonderful to witness all this. One of the things that fills me with the most joy is to see how much you are passionate about sports. Since you discovered football, there is not a day that you are not kicking the ball in the backyard or watching the games with a twinkle in your eye. Seeing his dedication and enthusiasm for the sport is contagious. You really were born for this. I remember the day you scored your first goal in the school game. His excitement was palpable, and I could feel my heart beating along with his every play. You have shown a natural talent, but also an impressive work ethic. You don't give up, Benjamin, and that's a quality I admire deeply in you. In addition to football, you are also interested in other sports. From swimming to running, you are always willing to try something new and challenge your limits. That thirst for adventure and learning is something I hope you never miss. Seeing you grow and develop, not only as an athlete, but also as a kind and generous person, fills me with hope for your future. You always find time to help your friends on the field, encourage them when they're down, and celebrate with them when they succeed. Your ability to think about others is something rare and precious. Benjamin, I'm here to support you every step of the way. I'm excited to see where your talents and passions will take you. Whether on the field or off, I know you will continue to shine with your determination and kindness. Continue to be the wonderful person that you are, my dear child. I look forward to sharing more adventures, laughs, and special moments with you. There are times in life when we are faced with unexpected challenges, and now I find myself facing one of those moments. It's hard to find the right words to tell you this, but I feel I must be honest with you, my dear. I received news recently that changed everything. The doctors found out that I have cancer. It's a scary word, I know, and I share that fear with you. The uncertainty of what is to come and the concern about the impact of this on our life together weigh deeply on my heart. I remember all the happy moments we shared, Benjamin, and that's what gives me strength to face this challenge. Seeing you grow up, your laughter, your achievements in sports, all this fills me with pride and unconditional love. You are my greatest motivation to fight this disease with all my strength. But, my love, I don't want you to worry too much. I am surrounded by excellent medical care and loving support from friends and family. I am doing everything I can to recover and fully enjoy our days together again. I know it's hard for you to understand all this, but I'm here to answer all your questions and share my feelings with you. Please know that no matter what happens, our love and our precious moments together will always be my greatest treasure. I promise to keep you informed and take care of myself as best I can. I am here for you, just as you are here for me. Together, we will face this challenge as a united family. Today was a difficult day for both of us, and I want to start by apologizing. I know I shouldn't have fought with you, my love. I am very sorry that I let my worries and fears manifest in that way. Stress has been present in my life more than I would like to admit. Sometimes I feel like I'm fighting against time, trying to balance my medical treatments, worries about the future, and most importantly, making sure you're well and happy. I know you don't deserve the weight of my worries, which is why I feel so guilty for taking my frustration out on you. Benjamin, my greatest fear is leaving you. The idea that I might not be here to see you grow up and live your own adventures is terrifying to me. I want to be by your side every step of the way, celebrating your achievements and supporting you in difficult times. You are my world, my love, and the thought of leaving you breaks my heart. I ask you to understand that my behavior was not justifiable. I am learning to deal with intense emotions and an uncertain future. You are such a wonderful child, full of understanding and love. Your patience with me is a daily lesson in kindness and forgiveness. I promise to do my best to find healthier ways to deal with stress and keep our moments together filled with joy and love. You are my highest priority, and I will do everything in my power to be present and take care of both of us. There have been recent developments that I need to share with you, my love. The doctors gave me difficult news. The cancer got worse. I know this is scary for you, just as it is for me. I'm really scared of what this means for our future together. The thought of leaving leaves me completely shattered. You are my reason for living, and the thought of no longer being by your side is the most painful thing I have ever felt. My heart breaks to imagine life without being able to see you grow, without being able to share more moments, laughter, and hugs. I want you to know that I'm not giving up the fight. I am facing each day with courage and determination, seeking every possible option to try to win this battle. But even so, there are times when fear takes over and I feel lost. You're so strong, Benjamin. You have given me the strength to keep fighting, even in the most difficult times. Your words of love and your hugs have been my comfort in the dark days. You are my sunshine, my reason to keep fighting until the last moment. Please know that my love for you is eternal. Even if I am no longer physically by your side, I will always be with you in spirit. You are the greatest gift that life has given me, and every second by your side was a gift that I valued intensely. Benjamin, continue to be the wonderful boy that you are. Keep spreading your light around the world and making a difference in the lives of those around you. Promise me that you will always remember me with love, and that you will find solace in the happy memories we have built together. I love you more than words can say, my dear son. Thank you for being my son, my companion, and my best friend. Dear Benjamin, I write this letter with a heavy heart but full of unconditional love for you. It is not easy for me to put into words everything I feel at this moment, but I feel it is important to put on record how much you mean to me and how special our journey together has been. The time has come when I must face a painful truth. My time here may be limited. The doctors told me that there is nothing more to do, and that soon I will have to leave. This reality is difficult to accept, but I want you to know that I am at peace, knowing that I have loved you with all my being every moment of my life. Benjamin, you have been the light of my life from the moment I held you in my arms for the first time. Every laugh, every hug, every conversation we had will be forever etched in my heart. You have taught me so much about love, courage, and resilience. You are my greatest accomplishment, and being your mother was the greatest privilege I could have. I want you to continue living life with all the passion and joy you have. Don't let sadness stop you from living your dreams and being the wonderful person you are. Continue to be kind, generous, and always seek happiness in everything you do. I promise to be with you always, in every star that shines in the sky, in every gentle breeze that touches your face. You will never be alone, my love. Even if we are not physically together, our love transcends any distance. I ask you to remember me with love and gratitude. Remember the happy moments we shared and the lessons we learned together. Know that I have always believed in you, and that I will be rooting for you every step of the way. Thank you for being my greatest gift, Benjamin. I love you more than words can express, more than the universe is capable of containing. You are my son, my pride, my light. With all my eternal love. Mom. The sun was pale behind the gray clouds when Benjamin, just 8 years old, held his grandmother's trembling hand during the funeral of his mother, Elizabeth. The cemetery was silent except for the soft sound of footsteps and the occasional muffled sigh of someone. Benjamin stared at the coffin with teary eyes, trying to understand why his mother had left so early. His grandmother, an austere woman with tightly pressed lips, held Benjamin's hand with a distant touch. She was the only close relative Benjamin had now, since his father had disappeared years ago. It was no secret that the relationship between her grandmother and her mother had never been close. Grandmother had always shown disdain for her free-spirited and dreamy daughter. "Grandma," Benjamin began, his voice choked with sadness, I miss her so much." His grandmother looked at him with a cold expression, her hard eyes reflecting little emotion. "She left too soon," was all she said. "Why did she have to leave, Grandma?" Benjamin asked, his voice trembling. Grandma sighed, a mixture of irritation and resignation in her expression. "That's life, Benjamin. Sometimes people leave before we can fully understand them." Benjamin nodded, looking away from the coffin where his mother lay. "I miss her telling me stories at night," Benjamin muttered, more to himself than to his grandmother. The grandmother did not immediately respond, seeming more interested in adjusting her hat than in comforting her grandson. "She had a peculiar way of seeing the world," he commented vaguely. The sky suddenly seemed darker, and a cold breeze began to blow. Benjamin squeezed his grandmother's hand harder, feeling lost and alone without his mother by his side. "Grandma, I wanted her to come back," Benjamin whispered, struggling to hold back tears. Grandma looked at him with a mixture of impatience and reluctant compassion. "I know, Benjamin." Benjamin nodded slowly, knowing that his mother was in a better place now, away from his grandmother's criticism. He felt a mixture of sadness and loneliness, but also relief that his mother no longer had to face constant judgment. The funeral continued in silence as Benjamin and his grandmother said goodbye to the woman who had been the center of their lives, each lost in their own thoughts and feelings. The sky slowly began to clear, as if the sun was trying to break through the clouds to bring some comfort to the broken hearts present there. The days after the funeral were difficult for Benjamin. He now lived in his grandmother's house, a woman of few words and many rules. The house was quiet and impersonal, lacking the warmth and familiarity he was used to with his mother. His grandmother maintained a strict routine and seemed more interested in maintaining order than in offering comfort to her grandson who had just lost his mother. Benjamin spent most of his time in the room that once belonged to his mother. Memories of her were everywhere. The books she read to him, the toys they shared, the smiling pictures that adorned the walls. He felt like a stranger in his own home, surrounded by painful memories and a grandmother who did not understand his suffering. At night, Benjamin would lie in bed and stare at the ceiling, fighting back tears that threatened to fall. He missed his mother's warm hugs, quiet conversations before bed, shared laughter about simple things in life. Now all that was left was emptiness and loneliness. "You need to be strong, Benjamin," his grandmother would say in a firm but cold voice. "Your mother wouldn't want to see you like this." But Benjamin couldn't help but feel lonely and sad. He missed the loving presence of his mother, who understood his fears and joys like no one else. His grandmother seemed distant and unapproachable, more concerned with her own routines than with her grandson's emotional needs. In the moments when he felt most helpless, Benjamin took out his mother's photo album and carefully flipped through each page. He clung to the memories, reliving the happy moments they had shared together. It was as if his mother was still present, looking at him with that kind smile that always calmed him down. As time went on, Benjamin tried to find solace in the memories and the few warm interactions he had with his grandmother. He knew he needed to be strong, just as his mother would have wanted. But the weight of loss still weighed on his heart, and he longed for the love and acceptance that only his mother could offer. As time passed, Benjamin continued to navigate the sea of emotions that his mother's death had left behind. He knew he needed to find a way to move on, even if the pain of loss accompanied him every day. Benjamin's days in his grandmother's house were like a gray haze that did not seem to dissipate. He lived in an environment where the coldness was palpable and the warmth a distant memory. His grandmother, a woman with a rigid posture and icy gaze, completely contrasted with the kindness and tenderness of his mother. The rules were strict and inflexible. Benjamin had set times for everything: waking up, studying, doing household chores. Any deviation was met with stern looks and harsh words. Her grandmother did not tolerate slips and disobedience, and her criticism was sharp as blades. "There is so much to be done in this house, and you are not a child anymore," her grandmother would repeat, her merciless tone echoing through the empty hallways. Benjamin felt like a stranger in his own home. The presence of his mother was more and more distant, as if it were a dream that he was gradually losing. He missed the quiet, loving moments he shared with her, the sense of security and comfort that only his mother could provide. On the most difficult days, when the burden of loneliness and lack of affection became unbearable, Benjamin took refuge in the bedroom. He looked at the pictures of his mother on the bedside table, trying to capture any remnants of the warm smile that calmed him so much. He silently begged for a sign that his mother was still with him, in spirit if not physically. Her grandmother's cruel words echoed in her mind like an unpleasant echo. He tried to remember his mother's loving advice, the infinite patience she had with him, but the void left by his absence was overwhelming. Sometimes Benjamin found himself wishing his mother was there to defend him, to put an end to his grandmother's criticism, and to surround him with her unconditional love. But she was no longer there, and he felt completely alone in the world. The wind cut through the air as 9-year-old Benjamin ran through the dark streets, his eyes clouded by tears of frustration and hurt. The argument with his grandmother had been like a hurricane, leaving a trail of cutting words and resentment in the air. "You don't understand anything, Grandma," Benjamin shouted, his voice mixed with angry sobs. "You don't know what it's like to lose someone you love." The grandmother, with her narrow eyes and hard countenance, did not retreat. "Stop this nonsense, Benjamin. You need to grow up and learn to live in this world. You never liked her. You never supported her," Benjamin accused, the pain in his chest almost unbearable. "I did what was necessary," the grandmother replied coldly. "She wasn't like us. She was a dreamer, a fool." These words cut Benjamin like a knife. He knew that his mother and grandmother had never understood each other, but hearing these words of contempt for someone he loved so much made him angry and hurt. Without thinking, Benjamin ran out of the house, leaving behind his grandmother and the cold silence that dominated that place. He ran through the dark streets until he reached the cemetery where his mother was buried. The place was quiet at that time of night, illuminated only by the dim light of lanterns scattered among the tombstones. Panting and with tears still streaming down his face, Benjamin approached his mother's grave. He knelt before the tombstone, feeling a mixture of deep sadness and relief at being near it again. "Mom," Benjamin began in a whisper, his voice choked with emotion. "I miss you so much. I miss you telling me stories at night, of your hugs and your love." He ran his fingers over the inscription on the tombstone, reading her name over and over as if he could bring her back. Tears fell silently to the cold floor as he recalled the happy moments they shared together. "Why did you have to leave, Mom?" Benjamin muttered, fighting the hiccup that threatened to explode in his chest. He sat next to the grave, looking at the starry sky above. The wind whispered among the trees, as if trying to calm his broken heart. He felt alone and lost, desperately wishing his mother was there to comfort him, to tell him everything would be okay. "I wish you were here," Benjamin said in a whisper he could barely hear himself. "I miss you so much." The cemetery remained silent, the night enveloping Benjamin in a sense of loneliness and longing. He knew he would have to return home soon, face his grandmother and the harsh reality that now seemed more unforgiving than ever. But at that moment, he just needed to be close to his mother, even if only in spirit, seeking a comfort that only she could offer. Benjamin stood by his mother's gravestone, his heart clenched by pain and the desire to be with her again. Tears continued to flow down his face as he muttered words of longing and despair. "I wish I could go with you, Mom," Benjamin whispered, his voice choked with tears. "I miss you so much. Life here is so hard without you." The icy wind blew between the tombstones, echoing Benjamin's loneliness that dark night. He closed his eyes, trying to imagine the comfort of his mother's arms around him, the soft voice reassuring his fears. Then suddenly a soft, warm hand landed on his shoulder. Benjamin opened his eyes in surprise, his heart racing. He turned slowly and, to his disbelief, saw the ethereal figure of his mother standing beside him. "Mom?" Benjamin muttered, not believing what he saw. His mother smiled at him, a smile full of love and peace. "Benjamin, my dear," she said softly, "I'm here. I always have been." Benjamin felt a mixture of shock and indescribable joy. He couldn't find words, but his heart overflowed with happiness to have his mother there, by his side, even if it was only for a moment. "I miss you so much, Mom," Benjamin finally managed to say, tears flowing freely now. Her mother stroked her face tenderly. I know, my love. I miss you very much too. But you need to be strong, Benjamin. You have a long road ahead of you, and I will always be with you. Here, she said, placing her hand over his heart. Benjamin felt a comforting peace flood his being. He knew his mother was right. Even if she was no longer physically present, her love and her spirit would live forever within him. They stood there together for a few more precious moments, sharing a silence charged with love and mutual understanding. Benjamin knew that he would have to return home soon, face the harsh reality that awaited him with his grandmother. But in that instant, he felt complete, knowing that his mother was with him, guiding and protecting him from wherever he was. When they finally said goodbye, Benjamin felt a lightness in his heart that he hadn't felt since his mother's departure. He knew that he now had an inner strength that would help him face the challenges that lay ahead. With one last look at his mother's tombstone, he began the walk back home, carrying with him the love and support she had always given him, even beyond life. The cemetery remained quiet and serene under the glow of the stars, as the comforting presence of her mother slowly faded into the darkness of the night. Benjamin returned to his grandmother's house that night, with a lighter heart than before. However, upon entering the front door, he was greeted by an angry and worried look from his grandmother, who was standing in the living room with her arms crossed. "Where were you, Benjamin?" your grandmother asked, her voice heavy with concern. "You've been gone for hours." Benjamin swallowed hard, feeling a mixture of guilt and relief at being back. "Me. I went to the cemetery," he muttered, unable to find the courage to face his grandmother's stern gaze. "To the cemetery?" Grandma took a deep breath, her face hardened with worry. "You shouldn't have done that, Benjamin." Benjamin lowered his eyes, feeling the weight of his grandmother's scolding. He knew she was right, but he also knew he needed to be close to his mother in that moment of despair. "From now on, you need to tell me where you are going," her grandmother continued, her authoritative tone making it clear that there would be no discussion on the matter. Benjamin nodded silently, acknowledging that he had been wrong to leave without warning. He was grateful to be home again, but his heart still ached for his mother's absence. That night, after a quick meal and a shower, Benjamin lay down on his bed. He closed his eyes, trying to calm his agitated mind. It was then that he fell asleep and plunged into a vivid dream. In the dream, Benjamin was back in the cemetery, but there was no sense of fear or loneliness. He found himself next to his mother's tombstone, where she appeared before him, radiant and comforting as ever. "Mom," Benjamin murmured, a mixture of surprise and joy flooding his heart. His mother smiled at him tenderly. "Benjamin, my dear, I have something for you." "What, Mom?" Benjamin asked, his eyes shining with curiosity. Benjamin was back at his grandmother's house, but something guided him to the dusty attic of the house. A soft light illuminated the dark space, revealing antique boxes and furniture covered in dusty sheets. He felt an inexplicable urge to move on, as if something was waiting for him there. Benjamin walked among the boxes until his eyes were fixed on an old wooden chest, hidden in a forgotten corner of the attic. Benjamin's heart leaped with excitement as he carefully opened the chest. Inside, he found a pile of letters yellowed by time, each with his name handwritten on the front. "They're yours, Benjamin," a soft voice echoed through the attic, and he turned to see his mother standing there, a gentle smile on her lips. "Mom," Benjamin muttered, his eyes filled with tears of happiness and surprise. Her mother approached and stroked her face tenderly. "I said I'd find a way to give you these letters," she said with a soft tone of comfort. "They are for you, my love, so that you always know how much I love you." Benjamin hugged his mother in the dream, feeling a wave of love and gratitude flood his heart. He knew that even after everything that happened, his mother's love was eternal and unconditional. When Benjamin woke up the next morning, he felt different. The comforting presence of his mother in his dream still enveloped him, as if she were there, guiding and protecting him somehow. As soon as he found himself alone at home, he ran into the attic and found the chest in the same place as in the dream. He opened it with trembling hands and then found the letters. That day, and for the next, he delved deeply into his mother's words. "Benjamin, If you are reading this letter, it means that I am no longer by your side physically. Know that this was one of the hardest things I have ever faced, leaving you so young and without my presence. But there is something I want you to know, my love. I will always be with you, no matter where you are. You are my greatest treasure, Benjamin. From the moment you came into my life, my heart was filled with a love so deep that nothing could overcome it. Every smile of yours, every hug, was the ray of sunshine that brightened my days, even in the darkest moments. Life can be difficult at times, my dear, and I know there will be times when you will feel alone, but I want you to be strong. You have a strength within you that you cannot imagine, and I know that you will be able to face any challenge that life presents you. When you feel lost or alone, look up at the night sky. There, where the stars shine so brightly, I'll be watching over you. Each star is a reminder of my love for you, a beacon of hope and comfort in the dark nights. Promise me, Benjamin, that you will never lose faith in yourself, that you will continue to grow, learn, and love the way you have always known how to do. I will always be by your side, guiding and protecting you, even if I cannot physically hold your hand. I love you more than words can express, my son. You are and always will be my pride and joy. Never forget that. With all my eternal love. His mother, Elizabeth. Very much to those who have supported the channel financially through the link in the comment pinned. This helps me to bring more and more stories to you. And don't forget to like and also subscribe to continue receiving the new stories.